Alright, so hi. The day is slowly but surely winding down to a close here. It's 8:37 where I'm at with my squeaky chair. You know what? Forget this chair. I'm gonna stand up like a man. I've been sitting in this chair for too long, but my job requires me to stand, so despite my initial love of the standing desk trend, start sitting again, just to give it some meh. But hey, how are you? I got my coffee. This is one of those things. I should not be drinking coffee this late. It's against my rule because I'm already a guy that doesn't sleep terribly well. But every once in a while, you need that dopamine hit. And for me, as a lover of coffee, this is my dopamine hit that I allow myself after a day of doing really productive things. Now, I had several options of what I could do right now with the last several hours of my day, which I'm actually just going to extend because it's Saturday and I deserve a little more time to do things like practice guitar here. So, the other thing I'm doing is obviously Tap, the Oddity podcast, which you are now watching. It's part of the whole Fractal Journal suite of content I have going on. You can find that at www.fractaljournal.com. It's a WordPress site, kind of a magazine feel, where I write on various topics. I make videos on various topics. At times I upload music and poetry. So it's an all-around creative outlet and also a place where I do analysis to the best of my layman's ability, which I'm hoping to refine as I go along and perhaps even add some professional oomph to it, but that's way in the future. So what do I want to talk about today? Well, for one, what I've already talked about is these little dopamine reward things we all do. There's lots of them. There's going out to eat with your friends, which I considered, but if I want to get out of some of this debt I've got going on, I got to give that up, or at least to some extent. And then there's the friggin' beer I could have bought earlier today. Instead of beer, I bought, meat. Because I know that during the week I'm going to want to work out. Like right now, I would really, really love to have that six-pack of beer and just chillax, sit back, read a little bit of a book, watch some friggin' YouTube, and just kind of mellow. But I know that $10 or so that I would have spent on those beers are much better served as hamburgers, which will help me stay strong and healthy throughout the week. You need that protein. There's this whole weird thing about protein is bad. Too much protein, too much red meat. Cholesterol is bad. Fat is bad. Well, yeah, it can be in excess. But honestly, from everything I've been hearing, and again, this is in no ways medical advice, but from what I've been hearing, it's actually carbs and sugar that are terrible for you. So, fat is actually what makes up your brain. And I gotta tell you the truth, I bought into a lot of the meat is bad stuff for a while. Like not that meat is bad, but that you should try to lean more towards the vegetable side, because I got in my teens really into Eastern stuff like Buddhism, and there was actually an Australian guy who wrote a blog about Tai Chi, and obviously he was very no milk and you've got to do the vegetables, etc., because traditional Chinese medicine. And traditional Chinese medicine does have value in certain terms, certain things, primarily philosophical, but no. If you're a Westerner, milk is fine. Come on. It's just what it is. But here's the whole brunt of what I'm talking about here, and I hope this is helpful in some way. Really find what it is that's your dopamine hit. Like I said, for me, it's this coffee or that beer I would have had or that hangout with friends. And see if you can't replace that activity with something else that will give you that. It'll take a while to build that habit of replacing that with something more useful. I'm always telling myself, I'm going to put out a music album. I'm going to learn the rest of that repertoire of Bach preludes I'm going through. I haven't done it. Why? Because despite those things being really fulfilling, they're just a tad more difficult than, drinking some coffee and reading a book or watching a YouTube clip. The reading the book thing is actually pretty good depending on the book. I'm talking about just like pure leisure reading. What this takes though, and this is super obvious, I'm not saying anything profound here, is to just start doing whatever it is. You'll have a snowball effect to where you're doing it more and more often. In fact, right now I could consider what I'm doing here with this podcast to be a waste of time that I could spend practicing. But I know at this point I've already practiced a little bit, enough to where it satiates that daily quota, and that if I practiced any more, it might be overkill. So you have to also strike that balance and vary the activities. This is useful in the fact that I'm getting, more comfortable with talking in conversational style into a camera. It's still a little bit weird, but I'll also trying to give useful information in a way that's accessible to people. And so I am, in fact, actually, meaning kind of like the vibe I got going on this evening by doing this. So just expand your range of options for hobbies and things. I've read a lot of, self-improvement type blogs over the last couple of years here. And one of the things that was brought up on one of them was, what's his name, Winston Churchill or somebody. I don't know if you're like a big fan of Winston Churchill. I have friends all over the political spectrum, and everybody gives me various stories, but whatever your stance on Winston Churchill, he was an accomplished man. One of the things he did was he always varied his activity. He would paint, he would read about very in-depth subject matter. I think he wrote letters extensively. So he was just kind of that sort of fellow. And I think that's the sort of fellow you want to become, is somebody that doesn't get tired of activities and arranges activities in such a way that they're all, different things that complement each other, such as the things you notice while you're learning to draw, the attention to detail that you take can then be taken into your letter writing, and you can write a more beautifully crafted letter to your lover or your friend or whatever. So just, in fact, like everything is kind of overlapping magisterium if you think about it. Nothing acts in a vacuum. So whatever skill you gain, you can transfer. Like, to give an example, so I want to learn Java. I'm still going to learn Java eventually, but I keep hearing this stuff from people that I really admire, like Brian Lundig, about how Java is not good. A lot of computer programmer guys scoff at Java, especially the C Nazis. But nonetheless, they do assent that learning Java will at least give me a programming foundation where I can learn the real programming languages later. So the same kind of thing. If you learn to write well or to draw well or even to a mediocre level, if you're developing skills, they'll all interlock and just always give you this momentum that will help you out tremendously. I guess this is all just going to turn into a really long pep talk. I'm hoping to get another idea here. All right, well, look at that. There it is. Mathematics for the non-mathematician. Here's a book that's actually gotten torn up, but that I've been meaning to go through. And I'm a person that, I don't want to say I'm bad at math, but I don't enjoy it. I never did partially because of the kind of teachers I had, the arbitrary way it was presented to me, and also because my strengths were always language and natural language analysis of things. I believe I got a perfect verbal score on the SAT. Woo, who cares? But yeah, I was pretty good at that kind of stuff. And then I noticed that you kind of need a lot of math in today's society if you want to pursue certain professions. And even in the writing field that I'm trying to go into, when I'm researching about water and stuff, I need to be able to analyze statistics and things about dams and blah, blah, blah if I want to write about it. Also, there's a great degree of chemistry that I have to learn. But anyway, that's beside the point. The thing is, math is foundational to just logic and reasoning in general. And you can find a lot of that in this book by Maurice Klein, Mathematics for the Non-Mathematician. I think he did write it for artsy-fartsy sorts like myself, but the most valuable thing about this book is it teaches you the need for structured thinking, which I've always had, but it stresses the kind of bare bones essential way that mathematics is the purest form of this kind of structured thinking that you can use as a foundation to build everything else. So it'll make you into a better debater, a better thinker. Just learn math. That's what I'm going to be doing over this next year. Is I'm definitely going to finish this book. So if you're like me and you hate math, pick up this book, and maybe at the end of the year we can have a chat about how it's enhanced our lives. Well, thanks so much for joining me today on this very off-the-cuff episode of the Oddity Podcast. Have a great time wherever time finds you. Check out www.fractaljournal.com, and goodbye.